Liquidity is coming. We dive into Pomelo's quadratic funding mechanism while Eden prepares for its second mock election. Plus, Google and block.one partner to train EOS devs, and much more. Hello EOS Nation, I'm Daniel Keys, and this is episode 105 of the EOS Hot Sauce. As always, our spicy weekly updates are available in every format. Watch on YouTube, or listen on your favorite podcast platform, or read it at eosnation.io. That's also where you can subscribe to the EOS Nation newsletter to get that spicy sauce poured straight into your inbox. However you prefer it, help spread the sauce by smashing the like, subscribing, and ringing the bell. Let's get to this week's spicy goodness. Last week, EOS Nation announced Pomelo, an EOS crowdfunding platform powered by the magic of quadratic funding. But what the heck is quadratic funding anyways? Simply put, quadratic funding is the mathematically optimal way to fund public goods in a democratic community. In this article, we'll briefly explain the mathematical formula, we'll explain the definition of a public good, and share some donation examples and the impacts those would have on various community projects. First, let's take a look at the math behind quadratic funding. A matching pool is raised, and those funds are allocated to crowdfunding campaigns according to the quadratic funding algorithm. The matching funding is allocated based on the square of the sum of the square roots of the contributions made by the funders. In more simple terms, this means that many small donations get amplified a lot more than fewer large donations, and projects with strong grassroots support will end up with a large percentage of the available matching funds. Next, let's define what a public good is, since funding these types of goods is the raison d'etre of quadratic funding. Different types of goods, such as private goods, common goods, club goods, and public goods, can be classified as either excludable or non-excludable, and rivalrous or non-rivalrous. Public goods are non-excludable and non-rivalrous, meaning that we don't have to compete for them, and we can't be excluded from them either by being priced out or not belonging to a specific group of people. Examples of societal public goods include clean air, infrastructure, and privacy. In EOS, some examples of public goods include open source projects, protocol improvements, libraries that help developers, free education available to anyone such as newsletters, podcasts, or YouTube videos, and free services such as ethical hacking and finding vulnerabilities in open source projects. Now that we understand the math behind quadratic funding and the types of goods we're aiming to fund, let's take a look at a simple example that illustrates the power of the model. In this example, we have 3 projects who each received a total of $1,000 in contributions from donors. But pay attention to how much more the project with the most unique donors receives from the $10,000 matching pool. Project A received 5 unique donations of $200 and earned an extra $1,852 from the matching pool. Project B received 2 unique donations of $500 and earned an extra $741 from the matching pool. Project C received 20 unique donations of $50 and earned an extra $7,407 from the matching pool. As we can see, Project C's strong grassroots support was highly rewarded by the quadratic funding mechanism, enabling each donation to be matched by a whopping 740%. If you're interested in playing around with the different combinations of such numbers, we invite you to visit the website WTF is Quadratic Funding, which features a 60-second video, a quadratic funding calculator, and other educational information presented in a simple and visually appealing manner. For more information, we recommend watching the 10-minute explainer video called How Can $1 Turn into $27? Quadratic Funding Explained, on the Finematics YouTube channel, which recaps a lot of the information presented in this article and more. And those who want to do the deepest of dives on quadratic funding can read the 31-page white paper or watch the 50-minute YouTube video featuring Vitalik Buterin called Quadratic Funding in Ethereum. You can find links to all that in the written edition of this episode. Speaking of quadratic funding, that's this week's secret word. And you know what that means? It's time to race for rares. If you'd like a chance to win a spicy rare NFT, just fill out the short Google form linked in the comments, say the secret word, and we'll randomly draw 5 lucky winners. But you've got to be quick. The form will close 72 hours after this episode airs. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss next week's race, and leave a comment for a chance to win our Golden Chili NFT. We'll reward that to the best YouTube comment of the week. Oh, and don't forget the secret word. This week's secret word is quadratic. Pomelo isn't the only new platform aiming to solve funding of public goods on EOS. Eden has been making great strides in that direction too. The EdenOS membership is growing, and the second mock election will take place on July 17th. Inspired by Dan Larimer's concept of political playoffs, EdenOS as a community aims to build consensus on ways to improve the EOS network. If elected, members of EdenOS will be allocated funds in order to execute on their ideas and promises. In order to join the community and participate in the election, potential members need to be invited and require skin in the game in the form of a 10 EOS donation to EdenOS. After participating in and observing the first Eden trial election held on May 13th, EOS Nation sees the potential for EdenOS to elect trustworthy people and is looking forward to the first official election in the coming months. The EdenOS community is growing every day, and we want to invite you to join EdenOS to keep the momentum going. As of the time of recording, Eden currently consists of 69 active members with 3 pending invitations. While these numbers may seem small at first glance, due to the way EdenOS membership system is structured, the more EdenOS members inducted, the faster we can induct new members. Each EdenOS member has 10 invitations that can be used to onboard members of the EOS community that they know and trust. The official Eden on EOS Telegram group currently has 437 members, and it's reasonable to expect that many of these members are interested in joining the Eden community. While the first Eden election could be run with only a few hundred members, the stated goal for Eden is to attract 1,000 members, while the maximum size of the community has been capped at 10,000 members. As a reminder, in order to join the Eden community, you must have an EOS account, be invited by an existing EdenOS member, read and agree with the EdenOS Peace Treaty, and make an on-chain donation of 10 EOS to the EdenOS community. While we wait for the first official EdenOS election later this summer, EdenOS will be hosting some trial elections in order to iron out any kinks still present in the process. The EdenOS trial Telegram group is private, so you'll need to reach out to an EdenOS member to join that group. The second EdenOS trial election has been scheduled for Saturday, July 17th, and does not require participants to be inducted as official Eden members. Find all the mock election details, including registration eligibility and funding, in the written edition of this episode. Results from Eden's first mock election are already bearing fruit. The EOS PowerUp Telegram bot is up and running. The bot, triggered via private messages sent to it, offers 7 free daily power-ups to each Telegram user, allowing EOS users to easily power up their own account or a friend's account. Simply message the bot and indicate which EOS account you'd like powered up, and it's done. Managing your EOS resources could not be easier. The EOS PowerUp Telegram bot is a fantastic example of a public good that was funded by the first Eden mock election that can be used by all EOS users on Telegram. For the more active users, EOSPowerUp.io, the platform built by John Boyd that powers the EOS PowerUp Telegram bot, can easily be leveraged to automatically manage your account's resources. In fact, the EOS Atomic Hub NFT platform is now leveraging the service in order to provide free CPU for all users of the platform, greatly improving the user experience of EOS NFT collectors. With all this funding on the horizon, the EOS community is going to need to train up some more developers. That's where this next story comes in. The latest development in the partnership between block.one and Google Cloud is the launch of an EOSIO course on the Google Cloud Training Catalog. The Google Cloud Training is a skill development feature of Google Cloud designed to equip users with the knowledge required to utilize Google Cloud services. This set of courses, referred to as labs, now includes a new lab titled block.one, Getting Started with the EOSIO Blockchain and Smart Contracts. The 5-credit course covers topics including creating a compute engine virtual machine, installing the EOSIO platform, running a local single-node blockchain, creating a wallet, and loading the EOSIO private key. The lab can be accessed using a Google account, and it's smooth sailing from there. With the lab developed in conjunction with block.one, it's been developed to replicate the EOSIO software UX, with the aim of acquainting new users with the EOSIO feel. Talk about a home away from home. Wrapping up now with a quick reminder for all the NuDex fans out there. You can now swap your NuDex NDX tokens to DEX. The swap began on May 31st on the contract name token.nudex. Last week we shared news about the NuDex white paper, and one important part of the news was this update in the NuDex token structure. NDX can be swapped for DEX at the ratio of 100 NDX to 1 DEX, owing to the reduction of the total token supply from 10 billion to 100 million. The swap will remain open until August 31st, after which the crossover to NuDex 2.0 will be complete. Find more details about the swap in the written edition. And that's all for this week's episode of EOS Hot Sauce. Once again, I'm your host, Daniel Keys, and we'll see you again next week. Until then, let's keep it spicy.